Hi. We'd like to do an idea for you that was related to the H2O GATE Watergate Blues.
See how I fly like a catapulted penguin. Incredible a spectacle, a short time to get it in. I soar with grace and ease and luck. The ladies all love how I'm rocking the touch. Not giving a flying what the haters wanna be me. I'm flying right above them, but they can't even see me. Could've been that they didn't expect it, caught them off guard. Didn't think I'd go in so hard. We could ask Judge Wapner to preside on the verdict. He brings down the gavel as he shares what the word is. He said my style's invincible, your style's inadmissible. He stood and pointed at me, said, fuck with it. See, I'm terribly ill. What's going on, party people in the place to be? I am Grizzly Beer Stories. Grizzly Beer Stories. Welcome to the next episode, as they say in the LBC. And if you watch the first one, you'll know that this is where I tell, one, a story, and two, give you my opinion on what I think is a good beer or a new beer to me. Today will be Latitude 33's Honey Hips. This is an ale brewed with honey and spices. That sounds pretty Ragnarok-y. 8.3 ABV, DPG, CPT, I don't know, something. Today, look at that pour. It's not hazy, but it's got a beautiful amber color to it. I wonder if that's just the way that it's brewed, or the honey, or what, I don't know. But it looks marvelous. And I might have, a little too much head. And so, again, welcome. And I guess we'll get started. Today is I guess you could call it the beginning of my heartache. Today I'm going to tell you the story of the first time I asked a girl out on a date. Cheers to heartache. Oh man. As I let it wash over my palate, oh man, that's really, really good. Right, the honey, it gives it like a mild sweetness that, like, I couldn't tell if this was my first time drinking this, and it's not, I wouldn't be able to tell you that this was an 8.3 beer. It is really good, man. Yeah. So, let me see. I think this was second grade for me, and I didn't know anything. Okay, I was first generation Californiano, and that means Californian. And I didn't know anything. I knew that, that boys who like girls were supposed to ask them out on dates. That's what I knew. And in second grade, I swore that I had a crush on this beautiful girl named Elizabeth Chamberlain. I don't mean to put her on blast. I don't mean to put her family on blast. But that name, much like any of the things that have formed me from, when I was a child, has stayed with me. And yeah, it is something that I have remembered, not for good or for bad, but just it stuck with me, and that's okay. So let me see where to begin. So we're in school or whatever, and everything that I know about interacting with girls, funny enough, I didn't have anybody to tell me anything about how to interact with girls. One, it was the second grade. Two, it was just me, my brother, and my mom. So everything that I had seen up until this point about interacting with girls was from what? I think it was Happy Days, Gilligan's Island, Leave It to Beaver, The Addams Family, and The Munsters. So you can imagine, my perception of things at this point in time. Oh, look at that! Look at that beautiful color. Like that alone, man. And then the spices. The spices are like, what is that? Cloves? Like a little bit of clove? I don't know. It's really, really good. So, with all of those things as my background for how I should interact with a girl and what I should do, I think at this point I had, on Happy Days and whatever episodes I had seen, I had, seen a girl get invited or asked out on a date or whatever by a boy or whatever. And so upon my interactions with, Miss Chamberlain, I thought to myself, well, if I do like her and I think she's pretty, and I did, I should ask her out on a date, whatever a date is. And I knew that it was like to go out to dinner or to a movie or something along those lines. So, this is right before the internet was born. So it still wasn't, you couldn't go online and search for the nearest movie theater, although in my town we had one, with un screen. So like you couldn't find out what was playing. It wasn't easy. But what was normally easy was getting people's phone numbers, and I didn't know what was what. And back in the day, maybe not so much now, we had this thing called 411. And if you hear that, give me the 411, that means information. You could pick up a phone that was connected to the wall and say, hey, boop, boop, boop. I don't think those are the tones for 411, but let's pretend that they are. They'd pick up and say information, and this was before they charged you $1.25 or whatever they charge now, because I think it still exists and they charge to use it. Information, how can I help you? And I asked them for the number to the Chamberlain residence. And in my town, let's just say that it probably was possible that there wasn't very many Chamberlains. And they gave me one or two or whatever. And I called the Chamberlain residence. Pretend this is 7-8-year-old me. No, none of this. I didn't get any of this until a couple weeks ago. So, hey, Miss Chamberlain, is Elizabeth there? And she says, yes, she's here. Let me just get her. She puts her on the phone. I say, hey, Elizabeth, do you want to go to the movies with me? And she says, well, let me ask my mom. And so she puts her mom back on the phone. And she asked me, well, what's playing? And I pause and I freeze. Because I don't know. I have zero idea what's playing. I just knew that, if I liked a girl, I was supposed to ask her out to the movies. So I say, you know what? I'll call you right back, Miss Chamberlain. I don't know where my mom is. She was probably working and I had just gotten off school or, whatever. Again, small town, single mom. It wasn't a recipe for disaster, except for it kind of was for me because, like the first knife in the heart. This right here would definitely be a good gateway beer for those that don't necessarily like strong hoppy beers, because it's got that sweetness, it's got those spices that they win you over. They do. And for an 8.3 beer, again, you probably won't be able to tell unless you're a sissy, unless you have a sissy tongue. So I get off the phone with Mrs. Chamberlain, Elizabeth's mom, and I then proceed to call information again to get the phone number for the theater in town. Man, if you can find Latitude 33 Honey Hips, I kind of suggest it. So I get off the phone with Mrs. Chamberlain, and I call information again. And then I say, well, I knew the name of the theater in town. And I say, can I get the number to the theater in town? And they proceed to hook me up with a number to the theater in town. I called the number to the theater in town, and I said, hey, what's playing this week? Because in my tiny town, they played movies. I think it was Thursday night, Friday night, maybe 2 shows on Saturday, and then 1 or 2 shows on Sunday. It wasn't nothing like any moderately or large sized town, you know. The theater in my town had been around for a long time. So I say, hey, what's playing this week? And he tells me, and I say, cool, that sounds like a great movie that I should take Elizabeth to. So I get off the phone with the theater. I then call Mrs. Chamberlain, the Chamberlain residence, back. And I talk to Mrs. Chamberlain, and I say, well, Mrs. Chamberlain, this is what's playing next week, or this week. And she pauses. And at first, you know, back then I didn't recognize that pause. Now, you know, the first time I remotely assessed it as an adult, you know, it was definitely an adult pause for concern, or maybe, you know, I don't know. It was definitely, you know, is he serious? Pause. Because the movie that was playing was Cocktail. And for 2 8, 9-year-olds to go and watch Cocktail, probably not the best idea, you know, to do. I didn't know, you know, like at this point in my life, I was watching movies on the TV. So they were edited, and if I enjoyed them, I enjoyed them. And I didn't really know what the movie was about. It wasn't until, again, you know, I was somewhat grown up and the internet was already a thing, that I discovered what Cocktail was and who was in it, what it was about, you know, the plot, whatever. And I laughed when I first found out what Cocktail was, and why Mrs. Chamberlain said, well, you know, I don't think that Elizabeth is going to go to that. Maybe another time. I can't remember if she said something about being busy that weekend, or what. I just know that she tried to gracefully say, no, you're not taking my daughter to go see a movie about Tom Cruise mixing drinks. And I still, to this day, I haven't seen Cocktail, so I couldn't tell you what it's about. I just knew that it has to do with Tom Cruise and mixing drinks. That's it. So yeah, that was my first time asking a girl out on a date, and it sure was something else. I don't think I did that for I don't even know how long. Oh man. I cannot overestimate the goodness of this beer. Yeah, that was the first time. It wasn't, I can't, it wasn't heartbreak. It wasn't, what, 8, 9-year-old me, whatever, in second grade. I don't remember exactly how old I was, whatever, but I do remember that instance. It didn't scar me terribly or whatever. Has it stayed with me? Yeah, like I'm sure that there's various things that have stayed with y'all over the years, and looking back on it, it's funny. I laugh, and I'm thankful that I had that opportunity, that I had that moment, with Elizabeth and Mrs. Chamberlain, and I'm glad that it's part of my life. Thank you for tuning in to this next episode of Grizzly Beer Stories. And again, Clover and Orange Blossom, Latitude 33, Honey Hips. Definitely worth a try if you like good beers. Or if you want to try to expand your palate. If you're into sours, it's not super hoppy. It is strong, but it's not super hoppy. So try it. Give it a try. And if you don't like it, well, find a friend that is into mead and Vikingly things of the such. And, maybe they'll give you something that you're into. It's good beer. Good beer. Give it a try. Definitely don't try mixing cocktails with it.